Okay, in this lesson we're going to look at a practice routine that's good for beginners through to intermediate level players, and it also doubles up nicely as a good warm-up routine for more advanced players. So in this practice routine we're going to be working on left and right hand coordination. It's also going to be good for building up finger strength and dexterity, but perhaps most importantly it's going to be good for building up mental flexibility, so that when you come into contact with new patterns or unfamiliar patterns on the fretboard, you're able to get used to them more quickly. We're also going to be using a metronome for a lot of these exercises, which especially for beginners is really important because it just helps you get used to playing in time. As we go through this, we're actually going to be playing these together, so make sure you've got a guitar to hand, and let's jump in. Okay, so we're going to look at 4 different exercises, and they're all based on the same idea, which I call the finger per fret exercise. It's also known as the spider exercise because it looks like this, and you can see that it kind of makes your fingers look a bit like a spider walking. I call it the finger per fret exercise because I think it emphasizes, especially to beginners, the importance of having finger per fret responsibility. That just means a finger is responsible for playing a particular fret across the strings. That means that in these exercises that we're doing, the first finger is always going to be playing the 5th fret, the second finger is always going to be playing the 6th, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 4th, the 8th. So, finger per fret. Let's start off with the most basic finger per fret exercise, which is just playing our fingers in order 1, 2, 3 and 4, and ascending the strings one at a time. We're also going to try playing this together, so there's a few things to keep in mind as we try this. We're going to use a metronome, so that's going to help us play in time, but it's very important if you do this exercise not using a metronome, you should make sure that the length of each note is the same, especially when you're crossing strings. What we don't want is a perfectly nice and regular rhythm, but then when you change string, a pause. We don't want that. We want it to be nice and even all the way through. Of course, other things, we don't want any fret buzz, and we want to be picking the right strings. So lots of things to work on for beginners. So let's set the metronome at 80 beats per minute, and let's play together for a moment or two. Okay, so there's a lot in there, and for some people that might have been really challenging. If it's the first time you've picked up a guitar, it's almost going to have been impossible to play that. But it's a good practice routine. The point is we try this every day for a few minutes and move on if it becomes difficult. As I mentioned, there's important things to think about. But if you're completely a beginner, you might have found that you were doing with your picking hand all down picks, which is fine, but I would recommend as soon as you're comfortable moving to a down and up picking motion. For a lot of people watching this, that might have been very easy, and you might think, well, I know that already. But let's think about how you can change it to make it more personal for you. If it was easy, you should increase the beats per minute, because there's a big difference between 80 beats per minute and 160 beats per minute. And both can be played and played cleanly. There's also an element of control in terms of how close are we with the hit of the metronome. Like, we can really get as close to that and concentrate as much as we can on getting it exactly in time. And a big part of playing an instrument is actually concentrating on it. So even if that was very easy, it's worth, can you play something that's easy and still concentrate on it, as opposed to becoming distracted and thinking this is easy. All of it's a kind of exercising of a muscle, whether that's a finger muscle or a mental muscle. So now let's look at the second exercise, which is going to take this a step further. We take the same idea, but instead of doing the order of 1, 2, 3 and 4, we're going to change that order. And the idea is you should change the order every single time that you come to this practice routine, or certainly as soon as you get used to a new order of fingers that you have decided on, you should then change. So what I mean by this is we did 1, 2, 3, 4. We could do 4, 3, 2, 1. We could do 2, 4, 3, 1. And so there's a lot of possibility here. So let's just jump straight in again. Maybe this time we will increase the tempo a little bit. Let's increase it to 100 beats per minute. And let's do a pattern of 4, 3, 1, 2. That was 100 beats per minute. You could definitely try it at 80, go down 60, whatever works. Again, if it was too easy, increase it. But also, maybe that pattern, 4, 3, 1, 2, happened to be easy for you. But how about any of the others? 3, 2, 4, 1. You know, there's going to be some way that you can kind of trip up your fingers and get an exercise out of this very simple idea that actually becomes challenging. Okay, so now let's move on to the third part of the exercise, which is we're going to be looking at crossing strings. And to do this, we're going to take the same idea of 1, 2, 3, 4 for this video. Of course, in your own practice, you could take one of the variations. And we're just going to basically play a string, jump a string. And then we're going to go back and play the same string that we started with again and jump a string. And then we're going to move up. So the order of the string playing is going to be E, D, E, D, then we move up, A, G, D, B, D, B, G, E, G, E, and then we can come back down, so G, E, D, B, A, G, E, D. And we're going to do just the 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern, and we're going to do it at 80 beats per minute. So again, try and join in, and hopefully my description was clear enough, but if not, watch the video, rewind it, try again. Let's go, 80 beats per minute. Okay, so that's again a simple way of doing the string crossing exercise. But again, let's think about this in a flexible way. We can change the order of the strings we're playing in any way we want. So one of my favourite ways of doing it is starting on the lowest string, jumping to the highest string, then jumping back down to the second lowest, up to the second highest, down to the third lowest, up to the third highest. So that's E, E, A, B, D, G. And then of course you could do it in reverse. G, D, B, A, E, E. And that's just one other variation that's possible. There's lots and lots of variations. So really the idea of this is that you think of the finger per fret exercise. You've got 5-10 minutes and you start off with 1, 2, 3, 4 and you basically just go as fast as you can. You really focus on upping your tempo. Then you try a new variation for a couple of minutes and you see how fast you can get with that, never compromising the clarity of the sound though. Of course, the clarity of the music is far more important than the speed. So you really want to make sure that you're playing the notes cleanly and evenly before you start increasing the tempo. So you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got the variation, then you've got the string crossing, which if you find the current string crossing pattern you're doing easy, just change it. Change to do different strings, and of course you can introduce variations within the string crossing as well. So the final exercise we're going to look at, part 4, based on the finger per fret exercise, we're going to introduce the tremolo technique. So again, this is really based in about the picking hand, and what we're doing is it's basically a very small up and down motion, and we're going to play each note 4 times. So let's just stick with the basic 1, 2, 3, 4, ascending one string at a time, and we're going to play at 80 beats per minute. But now we're going to try and play each note 4 times kind of fast, so it's going to be a bit like. And to do this, you still want to be using a down and up motion. You want to make sure that you're holding the plectrum fairly tight. Maybe if you have like a variation in how you hold the plectrum, you might hold it looser if you're playing chords, a little bit tighter for the exercises we've been doing. Tremolo, you're probably going to want to hold it the tightest you can. And by tight, I don't mean like pressing it tight. I just mean having more of the plectrum covered by your thumb and the side of the finger. Okay, so let's try the tremolo exercise, 80 beats per minute, all down and ups. This is the most challenging exercise that we've covered in this video, so don't worry if it's a little bit tricky. But let's do something a little bit different. We're going to ascend 1, 2, 3, 4, but then we'll descend 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay, so that was the tremolo exercise. We've now covered all 4 aspects of the finger per fret exercise. It's a really good warm-up if you're a more advanced player and you start focusing on increasing the beats per minute and just doing this in sort of 5 minutes. This can be like 5 minutes, just a good way of warming up if your fingers are a bit cold. But for beginner level players, this is a huge amount of content. It can take you really far. So hopefully everyone who's watching this has found it useful. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.